What if I told you that the financial world you've always known is quietly being reprogrammed? That some of the most powerful Muslim nations, from the deserts of Arabia to the markets of Southeast Asia, are walking away from the US dollar, not with noise, but with precision and purpose. This isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about rewriting the rules of power without firing a single bullet. While the West watches in silence, a silent economic revolution is brewing, one where oil isn't always sold in dollars, one where alliances are shifting, currencies are evolving, and age-old Islamic financial principles are now driving modern innovation. Today, you'll discover why these countries are making this bold move, how they're doing it, and what it means for the future of global power. So I invite you, whether you're an economist, a student, a leader, or just someone who dares to think differently, to stay with me till the very end. Because this story will not only open your eyes, it might just reshape how you see the world. Let's begin. Many Muslim majority countries are moving away from the US dollar as part of a broader strategy to reclaim economic sovereignty and reduce their exposure to geopolitical risk. For decades, the dollar has been the dominant global reserve currency, giving the United States significant leverage over the international financial system. This dominance has allowed the US to impose economic sanctions, freeze assets, and influence trade flows with a level of control that few other nations possess. While this may have worked in a unipolar world, the geopolitical landscape has evolved, and many nations, particularly in the Muslim world, are reconsidering their dependence on the dollar. Countries like Iran, Turkey, and even US allies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE have experienced firsthand how reliance on the dollar makes them vulnerable to external pressure. Iran, for instance, has faced severe sanctions that have limited its ability to trade and access global banking systems. Turkey has dealt with currency devaluation and financial instability in part due to the dollar's impact on its debt and economy. Even Saudi Arabia, long considered a pillar of the petrodollar system, has begun to explore the use of alternative currencies in its oil trade, signaling a shift that was unthinkable just a decade ago. This quiet shift is not simply about currency swaps. It's about a broader desire to take back control over economic futures. By moving away from the dollar, these countries aim to establish more balanced trade relationships, increase the use of local currencies, and reduce their reliance on Western-dominated financial institutions such as SWIFT and the IMF. In doing so, they are also fostering regional cooperation, whether through new payment systems, bilateral agreements, or participation in alliances like BRICS that promote de-dollarization. Moreover, the pursuit of sovereignty goes beyond economics. It's about dignity and self-determination. These nations want the freedom to choose their partners, shape their policies, and pursue growth without external interference. This drive is especially strong in the Muslim world, where memories of colonialism, foreign intervention, and economic dependency still shape modern political thinking. The move away from the dollar is a strategic step toward a multipolar world, one where power is more evenly distributed and nations have the freedom to rise on their own terms. In recent years, many Muslim majority countries have been forging stronger ties with emerging global powers such as China, Russia, and members of the BRICS bloc, signaling a clear departure from the traditional Western-centric economic order. This growing alignment is not just political, it's deeply economic and strategic. These countries are exploring trade partnerships, energy deals, and financial systems that operate outside the orbit of the US dollar. The goal is to create a more balanced and multipolar economic environment where no single currency or nation holds overwhelming control over the global market. China has played a central role in this transformation through its Belt and Road Initiative and its increasing demand for oil and gas. It has become a major trading partner for Gulf nations, Iran, and other Muslim economies. Many of these transactions are now being conducted in the Chinese yuan or through border arrangements that bypass the dollar completely. For instance, Saudi Arabia and China have discussed settling oil trades in yuan, a major shift from the decades-old petrodollar system. This isn't just economic pragmatism. It's a calculated move toward reducing reliance on the US-led financial infrastructure. Russia, on the other hand, has emerged as an important partner for countries like Iran and Turkey, especially in the face of Western sanctions. Moscow has encouraged the use of local currencies in bilateral trade and supported the development of financial messaging systems independent of SWIFT, which the US has often used as a tool for enforcement. The shared experience of being targeted by Western economic tools has brought these nations closer, fostering a sense of solidarity in creating alternative financial ecosystems. The BRICS alliance, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has become a focal point for many Muslim countries looking for a seat at the table in the emerging global order. Nations like Iran, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Egypt have either joined BRICS or expressed interest in doing so. So BRICS is actively working on establishing a new international currency or payment system designed to bypass the dollar and offer a more stable, politically neutral alternative. By strengthening these new alliances, Muslim countries are not only diversifying their economic ties, but also insulating themselves from the shocks and pressures that often come with overdependence on Western financial dominance. This shift marks a deliberate, forward-looking strategy to ensure national resilience and long-term economic stability. The petrodollar system has been a cornerstone of global finance since the 1970s, when an agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia ensured that oil would be sold exclusively in US dollars. This arrangement secured consistent demand for the dollar, reinforcing its dominance as the world's reserve currency. However, this once unshakable system is now being challenged as several Muslim-majority countries explore alternative ways to conduct their oil and gas trade. This shift is driven by changing geopolitical dynamics, growing dissatisfaction with US monetary policies, and the desire for more financial autonomy. One of the most significant developments in this area is the increasing willingness of major oil producers like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran to conduct energy transactions in non-dollar currencies. Saudi Arabia in particular has opened the door to accepting Chinese yuan for oil sales to China, one of its largest trading partners. While still in its early stages, such a move represents a historic break from the decades-long tradition of pricing oil exclusively in dollars. Iran, long isolated by US sanctions, has already been trading oil in euros, yuan, and even through barter systems, avoiding dollar-based transactions to minimize exposure to American economic control. These changes are not occurring in isolation. China, the world's largest oil importer, has actively encouraged its trading partners to settle energy deals in yuan, even launching oil futures contracts denominated in its own currency. This has given oil-pushing Muslim countries an incentive to diversify their currency exposure, especially given China's critical role in their economic partnerships. Meanwhile, Russia's alignment with Iran and growing ties with Middle Eastern nations have further accelerated the move toward local currency-based energy trade. The decline of the petrodollar system has deep implications for the global financial architecture. For oil-rich Muslim nations, moving away from the dollar means more control over their fiscal and monetary policies, less dependence on Western banks, and protection from US-led sanctions. It also allows for the development of regional financial frameworks that are better aligned with their own economic and political interest. By diversifying currency usage in the oil trade, these countries are not just protecting themselves from external pressures, they are also contributing to the slow erosion of dollar supremacy, setting the stage for a more multipolar global economy. Islamic finance is rooted in ethical principles derived from Sharia law, including the prohibition of interest, excessive uncertainty, and investments in harmful or unethical industries. These principles have created a financial model that is fundamentally different from the conventional Western banking system, which is often driven by interest-based lending and speculative practices. As Muslim-majority countries seek more sustainable and morally aligned economic systems, many are turning to Islamic finance not only as a cultural or religious preference, but as a strategic alternative to Western-dominated financial structures. In recent years, the global financial crises and growing mistrust in interest-based banking have pushed many countries to reconsider how they manage their economies. When many countries seek a secure and secure financial system, in recent years, Islamic finance offers a model that emphasizes risk sharing, real economic activity, and asset-backed transactions. It promotes fairness, transparency, and social justice, making it particularly appealing in regions where economic inequality and exploitation have long been concerns. By shifting toward this system, Muslim nations are aligning their economic models more closely with their values, while also reducing their dependence on Western institutions such as the IMF and World Bank, which often impose interest-bearing loans and strict economic conditions. Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar have heavily invested in developing the Islamic finance sectors, launching Islamic banks, sukuk, Islamic bonds, and Sharia-compliant investment funds. Malaysia has become a global leader in Islamic banking infrastructure, attracting international investors interested in ethical and sustainable finance. Even countries like Pakistan, Indonesia, and Turkey are expanding their Islamic finance markets, integrating them into national development strategies. This collective movement signifies a growing confidence in Islamic financial principles as a viable and competitive alternative. Moving away from the dollar is often linked to Islamic finance because the global dollar system is tightly bound to interest-based lending and debt accumulation, which contradicts Islamic teachings. Moreover, many Muslim countries have experienced how this system can be used as a tool for economic coercion, pushing them to explore interest-free, homegrown financial models. The integration of Islamic finance with new technologies like blockchain and digital currencies is further accelerating this transition, allowing for the creation of decentralized, Sharia-compliant systems that bypass traditional Western controls. By investing in these frameworks, Muslim nations are not only protecting their economies, but also pioneering a values-based financial future that challenges the norms of global capitalism. Muslim-majority countries are increasingly exploring the use of digital currencies and gold-backed financial systems as a way to protect their economies from the volatility and inflation tied to the US dollar. This strategic shift is driven by both economic and political motivations. For years, the dollar's dominance has given the United States the ability to influence global markets and impose sanctions through its control over international banking and trade systems. So, as these tools have been used more frequently, especially against countries like Iran and Turkey, a growing number of Muslim nations have begun to seek alternatives that offer greater financial independence and resilience. Digital currencies present a compelling option. Central banks in countries such as Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Turkey, and Iran are actively researching or developing their own central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. These digital assets enable governments to facilitate secure, fast, and transparent transactions while maintaining full sovereignty over their monetary systems. Unlike cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, CBDCs are regulated by the state and can be integrated into official financial systems. By using digital currencies for cross-border trade, countries can bypass SWIFT, avoid US oversight, and settle transactions directly, which is especially valuable when dealing with partners in Asia, Africa, or within the Muslim world. Gold-backed currencies are another avenue being seriously considered. Gold has long held cultural and historical importance in the Islamic world, not only as a store of value, but also as a medium of exchange that aligns with Islamic financial principles. In recent years, discussions around creating gold-backed digital tokens or even national currencies have gained momentum. Malaysia and Turkey, for example, have proposed initiatives to develop gold-based trade mechanisms that would allow countries to conduct commerce without relying on the dollar or interest-bearing debt. This dual shift toward digital and gold-backed financial tools represents more than just a technical innovation. It reflects a broader vision to establish economic systems that are secure, ethical, and shielded from the influence of foreign powers. By combining advanced technology with traditional assets like gold, Muslim nations are attempting to build a more stable and independent financial infrastructure. These systems also offer a pathway for deeper regional integration and cooperation, creating networks of trade and finance that are not only dollar-free, but also aligned with shared cultural and religious values. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are witnessing is not just an economic transition. It is a quiet revolution. A growing number of top Muslim countries are making bold, strategic moves to reshape their financial futures by stepping away from the shadow of the dollar. They are doing this not through conflict, but through innovation, partnership, and principle. By seeking monetary sovereignty, building alternative alliances, redefining oil trade, embracing ethical Islamic finance, and investing in digital and gold-backed systems, these nations are rewriting the rules of global economics on their own terms. This isn't a rejection of globalization, it's a rebalancing of it. It's a message to the world that the era of one-size-fits-all economics is over. The Muslim world, with its rich heritage and untapped potential, is not just surviving, it is preparing to lead in a future where diversity of thought, values, and systems will define true economic freedom. To all of you watching and listening today, the world is shifting beneath our feet. Pay attention to those who move quietly, because they often move with the most purpose. Thank you for your time, your curiosity, and your openness to ideas that challenge the norm. May you continue to think globally, question deeply, and act wisely. The future belongs to those who are brave enough to imagine it differently. Good luck. And may your journey always be guided by vision, not just by comfort.